What an honor. You know, I woke up this morning and I was all emotional. I think I must have been channeling the speeches that you guys had written, which I have not seen. So as you listen to my remarks, it will be like these were my children, or maybe I was your child, who knows. So let me start in a formal way and thank Dean Myers and Brad and Mark and Kurt and all who helped me prepare for today. And good afternoon, women and men of the class of 2016. Yes, I'm Wendy Lee. I'm a girl with deep southern roots from Oxford, Mississippi, not Oxford, Ohio. But red is a color I know well. And yes, I'm the CEO of Centrifuge. So it's an honor and privilege for me to be part of this celebration. It's a big deal. It's a very cool milestone. And graduating from Miami University is something to be very proud of. Now, I only have 10 minutes, and I don't have a PowerPoint, which, yay, I'm glad not to have a PowerPoint, but I want to get right to it. I put a lot of thought into this, and I wish I could ask you to take notes, but since you're tired of doing that, you can just take some mental notes as we go along. So here we go. Your heart and head are probably rushing with a wild array of emotions right now. Embrace the rush. You're excited, you're proud, you're eager, and maybe even a little restless. That's okay too. It's time to turn up your inner volume. Listen so intently that you can hear your breath and give your emotions the space they deserve. Each emotion is ready to share a really special secret, an insight that needs to be heard by the only person in the room that matters right now, and that is you. I don't think of you as a generation. I think of you as a magnificent and unique collection of yous. Change-making, dust-kicking, forward-thinking individuals that are ready to lead at least your own life for now. So rather than bounce around from selfless to selfish, which both are extreme, find a centered groove that allows you to truly grok all that's happening in and around you. Be enlightened in your self-interest and make deliberate choices for yourself, choices that will create a set of conditions for your birth into this new phase of life. And what a wonderful one it will be. I mean, you probably already know that a formal announcement of this birth is not necessary. After all, Google knows everything. And what Google doesn't know, your iPhone does, right? And if that isn't good enough, your LinkedIn profile is alive and well, and that is your new professional website, and the only resume you'll ever need. You got that? So save the trees and the time to create the resume. Just make sure LinkedIn's right. But back to the plot of being enlightened in your self-interest so you can make good choices. And I heard this from your colleagues. I mean, at the end of the day, what lights you up? What triggers your curiosity? What brings you joy? What lifts your spirits? What fulfills you professionally? Notice I didn't say who. I said what. These are questions that your teacher, your mentor, your mom, your friend, they can't answer these questions. And some days I wish I could for people like you. They're ultimately questions that you have to ask yourself, and it sounds like you are, because they're about you. The answers to these questions will be important fodder for your state of enlightened self-interest and the choices that you'll make from here. They'll be the premise of those choices. So here we go, entering a new world that will make these past 4 years look like a walk in the park. Easy and charmed by comparison, I may say. So belly up and be willing to give up the comfortable, the reliable, and the balanced for something the something that is none of these. So what is this something I'm referring to? Well, today we officially appoint you CEO and founder of your own professional life. Since it's the first day of your new job, let's pretend for a moment, it makes sense that I provide, or we provide, a handbook. A few things for you to consider in your professional tour of duty. There are going to be 5, so bear with me. First, own your potential. And it sounds like that's a key value here at the university anyway. Potential is holistic. It's developing all of you. Your horsepower, your capacity, your heart and all its magic, your true source of spiritual power, and your physical self. Each dimension requires investigation, introspection, development, and care. None are magically created, improved, or sustained. And together, whether you realize it or not now, they come together to serve the ultimate foundation for the rest of your life. You will not be capable of your best work later in life if you're not physically healthy. You must be spiritually fulfilled. You must be emotionally content and intellectually curious. This I know for sure. A girl with deep Southern roots from Mississippi. Deciding to own and develop your potential is very powerful because no one else will ever have the same stake in it that you do. Do you get that? Owning it means opening yourself to the potential of failure, but failure to own it means closing yourself off from real success. So you just got to be brave, and I'm not going to sing the song. Number 2, develop your voice. To find a voice, you need to create a point of view. A point of view comes from 3 things: values, expertise, and experience. Values matter, you know that. They matter in life, they matter in business. Live by the kind of values that you want to be proud of. Think deeply about them. I know you do. Expertise, though, it can be tricky. You can't just snap your fingers and have it. Just accept that. You really cannot. It has to be developed by leaning into your curiosity and passion and your natural affinities. You have to formulate a working hypothesis. That's a startup jargon word for your chosen expertise. Once you have the hypothesis, you get to color it in with experience that validate or invalidate it. This is a fun process. Explore it, iterate. Your voice, your point of view will emerge. We live in a world where people care more about their brand than their voice. Brand is about how you appear on the surface. That's your LinkedIn page. Voice is an expression of values, expertise against a vetted set of experiences. And speaking of experiences, number 3, you need to seek lots of new ones. Not just coming from Shanghai here, but going to many new places. And I don't just mean take a trip, although it's better to experience the world than not. Seeking new experiences is more difficult than leaning on old ones. I've lived in 3 countries, 5 states. This is my 34th address. I live in Mount Adams. I'd never lived in the Midwest. I have to consciously decide every day to reorient myself towards the new and different anytime an opportunity arises. You won't get what you need from life, and you won't even realize what you're missing unless you give yourself a chance to experience something new and different a little bit each day. Bring that attitude and that sense of adventure to all your choices. Number 4, find your community of connections. Along the way, you've developed a network, you've met all sorts of people. Well, maybe those relationships are interesting, maybe they won't last forever. What I know for sure is you have to connect at a core value level, but you also have to have a network, have a community with people that fascinate you, who stimulate you, and who will spur your growth, even when it's irritating, like a rock in your shoe. You don't want to be with people all the time that close you off and tie you down to do more of the same. And remember, I'm from Mississippi. Of course, To find your community, you have to find yourself. But once you do, it should be easy to choose the right people with values you respect and ideas that inspire. In the long run, this special group of people will be your community. They'll be the relationships you lean on in the tricky, intense times, and there will be plenty of those. Seek them out, invest in them. And then I want to go to a business community, and one of the most esteemed skills of all, and that's collaboration. Collaboration is the highest level of business relationship, and it does not happen because of a cool, open workspace, even though we have one, and I want you to come see it. It's created through dialogue, where the needs of individuals are viewed as interdependent, where trust is explicit, and the tools of creative problem solving and joint decision making are valued. Please be a community builder. Please find those connections that are valuable to you and learn how to collaborate. I'm going to end on number 5. I want you all, as you march into your new professional life as the CEO and founder of that professional life, to learn how to deliver unexpected value. Some people have perfected the art of creating wealth without delivering value, and that's a shame. Delivering value has always been my priority, and if I do that, prosperity and success typically follow. Not always when I want it, but it usually follows. When you deliver unexpected value, and I'm talking value beyond minimum expectation, you're not only serving a social purpose, but improving the environment and culture of those around you. You're creating satisfaction and loyalties that will resonate for a long time, maybe a lifetime. Draw people into your community by orienting yourself to the delivery of unexpected value. Okay, wrapping up. Being the CEO and founder of this new stage of your life will be natural to some. Be enlightened in your self-interest will trigger the curiosity of others. The 5 ideas that I just talked about reflect learnings from 4 decades of work experience and a wild and crazy personal life. They're grounded, they're accessible, and they're relevant. The reward of questioning conventional wisdom and being brave enough to buck it is not just that you'll be heard and recognized and maybe even be right. The reward is that whether you choose to accept or reject common wisdom, you're actually doing the hard work of choosing, and those choices will make you who you are. That's what CEOs and founders have to do every day. So be brave and enlightened in your self-interest. And class of 2016, welcome to your new job as the CEO and founder of your first professional tour of duty.